Greetings, students. Welcome to TCOM 408 Online. In this video, I want to continue to talk about the idea of corporate social responsibility. How do mega media conglomerates, giant media companies, how do they actually define social responsibility in the 21st century? I've examined a number of corporate websites to see how they deal with issues around corporate responsibility and corporate citizenship. If you examine some of the websites that these companies have put forward, you'll find that they address various issues and topics related to social responsibility. Walt Disney, for example, promotes its efforts to improve the environment and its philanthropic efforts. AT&T Warner Media promotes environmentalism, diversity and inclusion, consumer safety, and giving back and engaging with the community. Fox supports diversity and inclusion. Comcast NBC Universal says it supports community impact and engagement, diversity and inclusion, plus sustainability. Viacom CBS says it has a commitment to community engagement and diversity and inclusion. What about the tech companies? Facebook says it's dedicated to privacy, right? Safety, integrity, and its impact on society. At Google, the company says it wants to protect users, have a positive impact on the community, says it supports diversity and inclusion, and steps to protect the environment. All right, I've looked at a number of corporate websites over the years, and I have identified 10 dimensions of corporate social responsibility among the U.S. media giants. These are things that they're doing above and beyond the pure profit motive. So, let's talk about each one of these social responsibilities. One is to provide good journalism, journalistic integrity. This is really important right now. A majority of people in this country right now think the media publishes misinformation and is full of bias and fake news. So what is good journalism? Good socially responsible journalism? Well, this means you tell the important stories, not the trivial stories, the important stories that really affect people. And those stories are fair and balanced, impartial and objective. Good journalism is comprehensive. Good journalism provides analysis and interpretation and background. Good journalists are independent from government and other special interests. And good journalism, I think, would mean less sensationalism, less celebrity news, less gossip journalism. Okay, a second way in which the media companies express social responsibility is through support for ratings and filtering devices. This is all about having the content reach the intended audience. Social responsibility includes ratings, labeling, viewer advisory. Now, occasionally there are controversies in the world of ratings and why some films are rated in certain ways. But on the most part, most of media professionals embrace the idea of ratings. Now, I think a socially responsible media practitioner supports the rating systems and follows the rating guidelines and supports transparency and disclosure in terms of how the ratings are created and applied. It's important not to market content to inappropriate audiences and to enforce the ratings. Another area of social responsibility concerns how the media address certain social concerns. Issues like tobacco use and child obesity. Do the media have a responsibility to be aware and then to determine how to handle these sorts of social issues. You know, some people think that smoking should be eliminated in the movies, for example. So how do we deal with these social concerns? Well, one way is to support public service announcements, PSAs. You've seen these before. Prevent forest fires. Don't text and drive. Okay, don't drive drunk. These are public service campaigns. Another way to deal with this is maybe to have a policy. Like the film studios have policies about how they actually depict tobacco use in the movies. They might be able to develop policies about how they address concerns about nutrition and health in media content. And of course, the media should always examine how it's portraying alcohol and drugs, not to glorify those substances, and also to take special concern and care with how it deals with matters dealing with sex and erotica. Okay, all of these issues deserve some special attention and consideration. Another way a company can express social responsibility is by supporting giving back through outreach and volunteerism. There's an old saying from the Bible, to whom much is given, much is expected. So many companies support giving back to the community. This can be done through philanthropy, through charitable giving, and through promoting volunteerism. Environmental initiatives, a very important part of the ethic of social responsibility, is to show concern for the planet, for the environment, for the mothership, and to think green. Now, there's not always consensus in the media on these issues. For example, there is debate about global warming, but on the whole, most media professionals think we ought to protect the environment. So what can companies do to help with this regard? Well, one way is just through conservation of resources, not to waste. Okay, how about reducing the carbon footprint, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, diverting waste and doing more recycling, conserving water, raising public awareness about environmental issues, and maybe even funding some conservation efforts and other efforts to protect the environment. But companies can play a huge role in sustainability. And we really need to focus on the environment and our impact on the environment. A hugely important dimension of social responsibility is the idea of promoting diversity and inclusion in the workplace to make sure all hues of the social spectrum are represented. Now, there's two areas I think of concern here: diversity in the workplace and diversity in the content and in the messages. And you know, these two are related. If you have a diverse workplace, you'll have a more sensitive, inclusive, diverse content that's created. Now, sometimes it's sad when we think of the progress that has not been made in inclusion and representation. Consider this article: representation in Hollywood is just as depressing today as it was 10 years ago. There are still diversity problems and what's called an inclusion crisis in Hollywood. But many companies recognize this and are trying to take steps. For example, to promote workplace diversity and respect, to promote diversity and respect in media content, to make efforts to counter the old negative stereotypes and to promote more accurate and sensitive portrayals of different types of folks in the media content. All right, another dimension of social responsibility that's so important in the internet age is all about consumer privacy and data protection. I am sure you're familiar with this problem. There have been many news reports about data breaches. in the internet world? Well, companies have a social responsibility to do the best they can to protect our privacy. What does this mean? First, data security. Data must be secure, protected from hackers, from destructive forces, from unauthorized users. The companies have an obligation to secure the data. Not only that, customers should have a right to easily understand information about privacy and security practices. And consumers should have the right to access and correct the personal data, to correct any inaccuracies in that data. So these are three ways in which companies can promote privacy protection and privacy and data rights. Now, another social responsibility of the media, I think an obvious one, is to protect children, especially in the online world, to protect online safety. Okay, there are a lot of messages aimed at children which raise ethical concerns. For example, the world of in-app purchases. Anyway, it's really important to advocate for keeping the kids safe. How could the media companies do this? By promoting awareness about cyberbullying, computer security, how to use a mobile phone correctly and safely, all the problems associated with social media, the dangers that might be involved in the gaming and virtual worlds, to raise awareness about texting and sexting, parental controls, and to take extra efforts to protect children's privacy online. There are a lot of things that media and tech companies can do to try and protect children. All right, what about the workplace itself? Here I want to talk about the obligation to promote fair labor standards and workplace safety. Okay? Fair labor standards. How is the company treating its workers? Is it providing fair wages, a 40-hour work week, overtime pay, worker compensation for people injured on the job, no child labor, no sweatshops, okay? Safe, healthy workplaces, and no sexual harassment. A lot of big companies have been accused of running sweatshops, okay? And it's really important for these companies to show a level of care about the workers, the employees. And on the issue of sexual harassment, that really blew up the last 2 or 3 years, where dozens of people in media were accused of sexual harassment, and many of them lost their jobs. So a socially responsible company should probably take steps to eliminate all sexual harassment in the workplace. Okay, a final area I want to talk about is the supply chain ethics. And social responsibility means that a company cares about everything that happens in the supply chain. It takes responsibility for the health and safety of all of the workers in the supply chain. Maybe this is done by developing a code of conduct for the contractors and suppliers, by outlining the best practices in the areas of health and safety and environment, and making sure that all the suppliers and contractors adhere to a code of conduct. Not only that, companies should make an effort to make sure that the supply chain reflects diversity and inclusion. So, to summarize this, many people in the media believe that practicing social responsibility is a great thing, and it's great not only for the world, but also for business. Consider this comment from the former Disney chief executive, Bob Iger. He once said, "At Disney, we believe being a good corporate citizen is not just the right thing to do, but it also benefits our guests, our employers, and our businesses. It makes the company a desirable place to work, reinforces the attractiveness of our brands and products, and strengthens our bonds with consumers and neighbors in communities around the world." Many corporate executives have embraced the idea of corporate social responsibility. All right, Please consider my 10 dimensions of corporate social responsibility among U.S. media giants and make your own judgments about the responsibilities and the obligations that companies have to the world. All right, that's all I've got for this video. I hope that you got something out of it, and I also hope you're having a wonderful day. Please continue to take care of yourselves and the world around you and to engage in socially responsible behaviors. I'll see you soon. So long.